A chance encounter. On a bright afternoon, the sun cast its warm glow over the bustling city streets. At one of the outdoor tables of a quaint cafe, a man sat quietly, his face partially obscured by dark sunglasses. He exuded a sense of calm and confidence that was unmistakable. It was none other than Clint Eastwood, the Hollywood legend. Even though the years had softened the sharpness of his once chiseled features, the aura of his presence remained undeniable. A chance encounter. As pedestrians strolled by, many of them paused momentarily, casting curious glances in his direction. They were unsure if they should interrupt the iconic figure's moment of solitude, but the allure of the legendary actor was hard to resist. Clint sat comfortably, sipping his coffee, lost in thought, seemingly oblivious to the world around him. Across the street, in stark contrast to this scene of celebrity, another man stood mostly unnoticed by the bustling crowd. A chance encounter. His clothes were worn and layered, each piece telling a story of days spent battling the elements. His hair was disheveled, a reflection of the struggles he faced daily. In one hand, he clutched a small cardboard sign, while his other hand fidgeted nervously in his pocket. His name was Kevin, and today marked the beginning of his third week sleeping behind the dumpster of a nearby convenience store. The harsh reality of his situation weighed heavily on him. Kevin hadn't eaten a full meal in 2 days. His stomach gnawed at him, a relentless reminder of how far he had fallen from the life he once knew. As he scanned the cafe for someone who looked approachable, his gaze landed on Clint Eastwood. A mixture of disbelief and hesitation washed over him. What could a man like that possibly care about someone like him? But hunger has a way of eroding pride and breaking down barriers. With a deep breath, Kevin made the decision to cross the street, each step feeling heavier than the last. As he approached the actor's table, his voice was almost inaudible. "Sir, can you spare $1?" The words tumbled out, barely above a whisper. Clint looked up slowly, removing his sunglasses to meet Kevin's gaze. His expression was unreadable, and for a fleeting moment, Kevin wondered if he had made a mistake. Perhaps he was merely a nuisance to the star. But then Clint leaned back in his chair, studying Kevin as if he were trying to piece together a complex puzzle. The silence stretched on, and Kevin's anxiety began to swell. He felt the urge to apologize and retreat, to disappear back into the shadows of the street. Just as he was about to turn away, Clint finally broke the silence. $1, huh?" he said, his tone neutral but curious. Then, with a hint of a smile playing on his lips, he added, "Sit down. Let's talk." Kevin was taken aback. The invitation felt surreal, almost like a scene out of one of those movies he used to watch when life was simpler and full of possibility. Sit down with Clint Eastwood? It was almost too good to be true. He scanned Clint's face for a sign that this wasn't some cruel joke, but there was no malice there, only a calm curiosity that made him feel both exposed and oddly comforted. With a quiet, "Thank you," Kevin eased into the chair across from Clint, his heart racing. The cafe buzzed around them, but in this moment, it felt as if they were in their own world. Clint studied him for a moment, and Kevin felt the weight of the actor's gaze. It was a look that seemed to see beyond his tattered clothes and unkempt appearance, deep into the core of who he was. "Kevin," he replied, barely able to meet the legendary figure's eyes. I've been going through a rough time," Clint nodded, his expression softening. "That happens to a lot of people. Life can throw some pretty hard punches, can't it?" Kevin felt a surge of emotions rise within him. Here he was, sitting across from one of the most famous actors in the world, discussing the very struggles that had led him to this moment. "Yeah, it has," Kevin admitted. "I lost my job a few weeks ago and, well, things just spiraled from there." Clint listened intently, his gaze unwavering. "I'm sorry to hear that. What kind of work did you do?" "I was in construction," Kevin replied, his voice gaining a bit of strength. "But when the company downsized, I was one of the first to go. I didn't think it would be this hard to find another job." Clint leaned forward slightly, his interest piqued. "It can be tough out there, especially in this economy. Have you looked into any resources or shelters?" "Yeah, I've tried. Kevin said, a hint of frustration creeping into his voice. But it's just hard to get back on your feet when you're starting from zero. I don't even have a phone to look for jobs. Clint sat back, contemplating Kevin's words. Sometimes all it takes is one person to believe in you, one opportunity to change everything. Have you thought about reaching out to local organizations? They might have programs to help people in your situation. Kevin nodded slowly, absorbing the advice. I've thought about it, but it's hard to find the motivation when you feel so lost. Clint offered a reassuring smile. I understand. I've faced my own battles, you know? Everyone has their own struggles, even those who seem to have it all figured out. The key is to keep pushing forward, even when it feels impossible. As they talked, Kevin felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. Clint's words resonated deeply, reminding him that he wasn't alone in his struggles. The legendary actor's presence brought a sense of validation to his experiences, a reminder that even icons face adversity. After a few moments of silence, Clint reached into his pocket and pulled out a few bills. Here, he said, handing Kevin some cash. This should help you get something to eat. But more importantly, I want you to promise me that you'll look into those resources. You deserve a chance to get back on your feet. Tears welled up in Kevin's eyes as he accepted the money. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate this. I never thought I'd be sitting here talking to you and getting help. Clint shrugged, a humble smile gracing his lips. We're all human, Kevin. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. What matters is how we treat each other and lift each other up. With that, Kevin felt a warmth spread through him, a sense of connection that transcended their stark differences. In that moment, he realized that even in the darkest of times, kindness could shine through and create unexpected bonds. As they finished their conversation, Kevin felt a newfound sense of determination. Clint had not only offered him financial help, but also the encouragement he desperately needed. As he stood up to leave, he looked at Clint with gratitude in his eyes. Thank you for believing in me, he said sincerely. Clint nodded, his expression genuine. You've got this, Kevin. Just take it one day at a time. With that, Kevin walked away from the cafe, feeling lighter than he had in weeks. The weight of his struggles still loomed, but now he had a glimmer of hope to guide him forward. He knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but with each step he felt a renewed sense of purpose. And as Clint watched him go, he couldn't help but feel that he had made a small difference in someone's life, that perhaps, in a world filled with challenges, moments of connection could lead to profound change. In that simple exchange, two lives had crossed paths, reminding both of them that compassion and understanding could bridge even the widest gaps.